Oh, it was great. And then we got to go to the Phillies game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a great weekend. Yeah, it was a Phillies game.
I wore it for you, my friend.
I know. I purposely didn't wear my Mets hat, but
It's good. Oh, I thought that's what you had on backwards.
no, it's a nerdy Star Wars hat.
That's not nerdy. It's the future.
The problem is my Mets hat is like I make it through. I barely made it through the season. It's so sweat through at this point. It's terrible. And then I have another one, but I have plenty. So don't.
My favorite Phillies hat is nothing but sweat, so I wear it when I mow, and it's the only time I can wear it.
Yeah, I burn through them. One season I have 2 hats, and then they're just so sweaty. I throw them out at the end. But.
In disgust. You look at your team's record.
Sweating out the shittiest team in baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, oh man, it's rough.
I actually have no dog in the fight. I don't know. I just know that would really please Kevin. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, no one has any dog in the fight. This season is whatever it is.
Yeah, it's very toothless.
That's true. We have the Nuggets who have stepped up in basketball. I'm really actually enjoying the bubble basketball.
Bubble basketball was good. I think they had the best close. I don't know. The quality of play is the best out of all these random leagues that are going on. I think.
I'm really enjoying it. They are getting after it without. I don't know if it's the audience being gone and they're just playing ball it's just very high level pickup basketball.
Oh, it's great. No, it's great.
They're just playing basketball and it's so nice to see.
I think the design of the court looks nice. It feels like it's really a fun little silly tournament. You know what I mean? Whatever, an old school high school tournament or something. But with
it's baseball so vast.
Yeah.
It just feels like it just is so big. It's hard to translate with nothing else going on in the background.
Totally.
Steve, are you jealous of Mike's microphone?
I am. I'm jealous of his whole setup.
I usually have. I know. I'm missing I usually have a tripod with an iPad too, because I'll use that for questions. So I'm a little bit stripped. I'm a little bit bare right now.
Look at that setup. I now have the second best setup. I don't like it.
I think Mike has to host.
Don't even say those words to me. Kevin knows. I'll jump right in. Be like, what? Host? Okay, done. I was when Kevin was like, "Do you want to be the storyteller?" I'm like, "Oh, that's the exact opposite of what I want to do ever. I want to be the person that's messing with the storyteller."
Yeah, my favorite part about that was I was like, "Well, because we typically ask someone to tell 2 stories, but if you only have one, that's fine." And I said, "If you have one, I can tell one." And after Mike's like, "Oh, I hate talking about myself. I hate being the storyteller," I was like, "Well, I can tell a story." He's like, "No, that's all right. I'll tell 2."
Well, I think worse than not hosting is asking people to do things as a host and have them being like, I'm not really that into it. And I'm like, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
Hey, Jess.
Hey.
I see Miss P. Are you you're back to teaching?
Shoot. Yeah, we're back.
You look a little battle weary.
Oh, this is the worst week of my teaching career by far.
Yeah. This is my worst week of parenting by far.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a pretty good week.
Shut up, Ian. Shut up, Steve. Sorry, Ian. I'm so used to saying that.
Hey, this is Steve with the Punch Up Podcast. With me on this episode are Kevin Regan.
Hey, Steve.
Ian O'Shea.
Hey, Steve.
Jesse Preisendorfer.
Hey, Steve.
And our storyteller is Mike Gregorek. Mike, thanks for being here.
Hey, Steve.
Welcome.
Cheers. My first story it's actually a story that I tell often enough, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
Oh, I've heard this.
And because people always ask me when I want it. I'm a performer by trade and a host. And folks have asked me in the past, when did you first know? When, was it in elementary school or high school or college? When did you first know that you wanted to be a performer in front of a live audience? And I always go back to
puberty.
The moment 13. I was 13 years old. No, even earlier than that, Kevin Regan. Kindergarten.
Wow.
Before
you're one of those.
I have a very vivid memory of my first performance in which an audience was watching and laughed at me. And I remember the feeling and elation of oh, there's a live crowd here and they are laughing at me. And it was, so I had a great first grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Reed. This was on Long Island, where I grew up as a young lad. It's always awkward when you're like telling a story of yourself. You're like, let me punch this up myself with words.
What year are we talking here, Mike?
That's a good question. Oh, I'm not great at math. Okay, maybe you can help me out. So this was.
You know what? Miss Reed could only teach you so much math.
Well, I know. No, it's my God. How old are you in kindergarten? So I was born in 1982.
So you're like 4 or 5 in kindergarten.
Yeah. So 1987.
5.
Okay.
Question mark? 1986 to 1987.
Right.
I went to school on Long Island at a school called Infant Jesus. That's right. The school's name was just not a saint, just named after the baby Jesus.
They do that?
That's a good one.
I've never heard that.
It's
Jesus.
At the time, you're like, sure, that makes sense. And then when you look back, you're like, just Infant Jesus they went with.
Was that when his powers were at its peak?
No, I don't think they had come into form yet. You know, he had to get angry at like a karate tournament, and that's where it kicked in.
You know what I'm saying is like a baby knows all, right? It is capable of speaking any language. Is capable of loving, hating, you know, whatever. Is just a perfect being, right?
I feel like Jesus.
Then he started hanging out with like sailors and hookers.
That's a good point.
And they started buying in.
Infant Jesus. Okay.
And then after Infant Jesus, did you go to like Toddler Jesus and Tween Jesus?
Middle school age. You graduate to Toddler Jesus.
Precocious genius.
Adolescent Yeezy.
Hey.
So is that just the kindergarten then, Mike?
In terms of the school I went to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did it have other grades?
It went through 8th, I think,
okay.
But we moved after I was done with first grade. So
now, is there a picture in the principal's office? Is there a picture of like the president and like a baby with long hair and a beard?
I don't know. I don't remember the office there. I have worse memories of another Catholic school that I went to from like 2nd through 8th. Worse is maybe a harsh word. Just harsher memories of the office. And if we want to continue the story of kneeling, like having to kneel and pray to atone for like laughing in the hallway. That was like
jugged. You got jugged.
Jugged, yeah, that's right.
Wait, jugged?
Now, jug's a high school thing.
Oh.
Justice under God.
Oh,
judgment.
Judgment under God.
I don't know.
With the exception of Ian, who's honorary Catholic, everyone here is either Catholic or lapsed Catholic. So,
or firmly, strongly anti-Catholic.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
By lapse, that's what I meant, Jesse. You and I jumped in a car and drove the other way.
Yeah.
I think the two categories are lapsed and strongly against.
Oh, that's a different podcast. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Mike, that's all the time we have.
Yeah, no, that's yeah,
Great story. Do you have another one?
I'm lapsed for sure. So kindergarten and first grade were as Infant Jesus. So I stayed with I couldn't stay longer than when Jesus would have grown up at that school, so I left.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
No, we moved upstate just due to my dad's job. But at this school, one of my favorite teachers of all time was Mrs. Reed. She was very. All of her lessons were very like interactive, and I feel like now looking back at it, like super advanced for kindergarteners. Like everything featured. It would be like we would read a book, but not only would we read that book, we would do like a project or creative activity that was based on that book. Then we would like act out the book based on the creative activity. You know what I mean? So she was like super, super awesome.
What kind of advanced book are we talking? Are we talking like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, or like War and Peace?
Like Stone Soup. Do you guys remember Stone Soup?
Oh, yeah.
The book. It was. I can't remember the actual plot, but it's about I feel like it's an old folk tale or like fable, or, where a woman is baking a soup and there's a stone in the bottom of it, and I can't remember what the moral of the story was. Or
doesn't everybody in the village like add a stone?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's like an old folktale. And again, I can't for the life of me remember what the moral, like what the point was. But we then made stone soup like after. And that's how I learned that I might have a barley allergy, because she just used barley soup. And this was like school before they really checked all of the allergies. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I definitely
Infant Jesus will keep you safe.
Yeah.
the baby Jesus will keep you safe. But there was another folktale book called Egg. It was a Asian tale, and I'm not even quoting the right country because I forget exactly, but I feel like it was maybe. And it was about making egg drop soup. So we were learning about different cultures, and we were learning about Asian culture. And so again, because she was a cool teacher, we actually made egg drop soup. And what happened in the class, this is still getting to the point of my story. What happened in the class is as we were making it, Mrs. Reed dropped the eggs and they spilt all over the place. And she made like a joke casually, like, "Oh, it's really egg drop soup." It was not intentional. It was like a mistake. It was like a silly thing.
That's pretty cool because I think back then in grade school, if that happened in my class, we would have been like, she's going to freak out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we caused that somehow.
We're all going to get beaten because of this.
Yes. For her mistake.
So, and she would do this every year. At the end of the year, the kindergarten would put on an assembly, as some schools do and different grades do, where the entire assembly was about recapping the year, right? So she wrote this script and there was music and singing and all kinds of stuff. And we all had different parts and different roles and different like lines. And one of the things that I had to do was, for some reason, we sang The Sound of Music, like So Long, Farewell.
Not the whole musical, just that particular.
Just the So Long, Farewell song. And I was, so this was like the second laugh I got. So that's sort of backtracking because, I got to do the Kurt part, I guess it is. He's the one that's like, goodbye. But
I'm sorry,
in the movie.
For our listeners who aren't familiar with the song, can you just.
Yeah, for sure.
You get it.
So it goes, so long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen to you. And then each kid has like a different joke thing that they do. So
We
some
could
of them
do that. There's enough of us. We could each do that.
That's true. And I can be Kurt. I can still be Kurt if you want.
No?
But no.
Bad idea. Okay.
I don't know if I know it well enough. I know it to hear it. That's the
There it
end,
is.
Ian. You've jumped to the end.
Oh, sorry.
We've gone to bed and something, so must I. But Kurt's bit is that what is Julie Andrews' character's name? Maria. He's supposed to like mime that he's like singing this or mouth that he's singing this really high note, but Maria is actually like singing in the background. So he's like, good. And then she goes, bye. And then he sells off. So I got a good laugh there. But my best laugh came, or my first memory of a laugh to a joke was when the line was, we were going through the year and going through everything that happened, again talking about all the different situations that happened, and one kid set it up. I can't remember who the kid was or what their name was, but the setup to the joke was and then we were learning about like Asian culture, and like Mrs. Reed made egg drop soup and dropped the eggs, and then I deliver the line, so it really was egg drop soup. And then uproarious laughter from all the parents.
Really?
And that was my and I remember being like, oh, that like feels
lit the wick.
good.
Did you have a cigar in your hand at the time?
So that reminds me, it really was egg drop soup. No,
Mike, was
sadly.
that a single performance, or did you do this over the course of many nights and have to?
It was a different word every night.
8 shows a week.
No, it was only one. It was only one, but it was a powerful performance. Where again,
kind of like Marvin Gaye's national anthem.
Kind of like Marvin Gaye's national anthem.
They're not all funny, Mike.
No. I didn't know the context of the joke.
Neither did we.
Neither did Ian, which is the most important part.
That teacher sounds pretty cool to create that kind of show. She
was awesome.
A while ago.
Yeah. And again, a little bit of everything.
Steve, are you hinting at the fact that she likely is no longer with us, or the way you said that was a while ago?
I feel like that kind of creativity and that kind of thing would be more common today than certainly when I was a child. But
well, once No Child Left Behind came around, this teacher is teaching the certain letters of the alphabet by the certain month of the year, and that's all she's allowed to do. So, yeah, creativity is out the door.
Cool.
Sorry for taking a day to make soup, kids. Let's get back to our letters.
Was she the home ec teacher too? Because I feel like that's very efficient if she was.
I remember her, like, she was literally, what was the Magic School Bus? What was her, Mrs. Frizzle or Frazzle? Or
Yeah.
yeah, like this was who this woman was, and I always, I think since all of my creative exploits, I feel like, and like a lot of the life lessons that I learned, I don't think I was realizing at the time, like came from this classroom. Like her classroom was set up, like there was like, of course, we had like a rabbit. I think we like hatched chickens. You know what I mean? Like at one point, we like released butterflies from like cocoons.
Right.
It was
Well,
like
nobody
magical.
has a a banker or a retail worker that they remember for their whole life, and that they look back and realize that they shaped their life. I mean, mine was 6th grade Susan Crosby Montessori school. She saved my intellectual life for sure. Everybody else, what about you, Kev?
There's a couple of them. One of them was probably a teacher. He was super young. He had only been teaching for a couple years when he came to us at Shanahan, which was like an old type school. And our teacher had gotten sick and left and went on leave. And he came in. His name was Luke Prendergast, and he looked just like Superman. And he was awesome. And in like kind of getting to know him and stuff, we found out like he toured with the Bad Brains, and it was just like, who are you, dude? He was just an amazing teacher. And I still follow him on Instagram, and every time he likes a picture I post, I'm like, things are all right. The world's gonna be okay.
Nice.
How about you, Steve? What none?
I can tell you one teacher that really inspired me in high school was a guy named Bruce Ingram, and I had him sophomore year, and he was an English teacher, and he was really hard, and he really pushed you to be a good writer, and that I remember I wrote a short story that I wish I had kept. And
but he ripped it up. He read it and was like, and like it meant a lot.
Now he gave me an A, and I was
good.
really super proud of it. I was like, holy crap, I got an A for this guy, and that launched me into my writing career, which is very successful, as everybody knows.
I had a high school math teacher, obviously, but she was Greek. Her name was Rosopoulos, so she taught us how to count to 10 in Greek.
Cool.
And I just, like, that was outside of the math stuff.
Can you still do it?
Anateo drea desra pende exiapta ano anea thega. So yeah, I can.
We're going to assume that's correct.
It's close. It's
Did
close
you ever
as
get?
You guys can tell. So
Did you ever get to visit the city of Rosopoulos?
was that a real city?
I don't know.
I did actually write her a letter a few years ago, and just told her that because of her, like, I'm a math teacher, and that she inspired me, and she wrote back, and I'm sure she didn't remember who I was, because I was the quiet kid in the flannel shirt that sat in the back. I was non-remarkable. But that was kind of cool that I got to tell her thank you. So
It's nice.
yeah.
Sorry for the tangent there, Mike, but yeah, the teachers are amazing, right?
Well, it's funny. This is making me think of another story, not story, but another teacher, because we were talking about faith and stuff. So I also went to Catholic University of America for college.
What the hell?
And
you were all in.
And people are like, what do you mean? Which Catholic university? And I'm like, no, it's called the Catholic University of America. That is the name of the place.
That's funny, 'cause I went to the lapsed Catholic University.
It's right next door. They do a lot of dances together. It's the Catholic University. It's in DC, Washington, DC. I always joke with my mom because my mom is super. My parents are both very accepting people, and I love my parents, and they've always accepted from all their children how the lifestyles they want to choose. But they're still parents, and they still grow up very conservative, and so they still want to share that often. And I always joke with her because she often asks, like, why'd you stop going to church? Why? And there's a million reasons, obviously, and we don't have to get into those. But one of the things that I always harken back to is a Catholic priest, and I'm forgetting his name. I want to say Father Stan, but who at Catholic University, you have to take 2 credits of religion. But the cool thing is it can be any religion. So it's not like you need to study Catholicism. And actually the school as a whole, we laugh because it's called the Catholic University of America. It's like, the religion is there if you want it to be a part of it, but you're not forced in any way. And so I did enjoy my time there. But you are supposed to take religion, but you could pick any religion. So I did one class that was the Gospel of John. So clearly this is a Catholic class, if you will, or Christian class. And I had a Catholic priest who just changed my whole perspective on religion this doesn't matter what we think as Catholics. Everyone has different thoughts and different beliefs. And we would celebrate Jewish traditions and Hindu traditions and Muslim traditions in the class because it was all referenced in the story here and there of the Gospel of John,
Was he a Jesuit?
I want to say yes. Just based. But he really looked at it, what's the word I'm looking for? Academically, you know what I mean? As opposed to just on faith. And, would talk about stories from the Old Testament and how the scientific reasoning, when they said he parted the Red Sea, it got mistranslated. It was really the Reed Sea, and the Romans got stuck in the mud. And then it kind of evolved to this story of Moses parting the sea and that the Romans getting stuck in the ocean. And it was such a another life.
They punched it up.
He punched it up, and he was honest. He was transparent. He still said at the end of the day, listen, at the end of the day, this is what I believe, but I'm not going to tell you how you're supposed to believe. I'm going to tell you what's on paper. We're going to read the stories, and then I'm going to tell you what I think based off of historical evidence and academics. And again, it's not knocking the people that wrote these stories down either. They wrote them for a purpose at that time. They were punching it up, right? They were punching up the story to speak to a people the way they knew how to speak to them, through metaphors and through, all that kind of stuff. And again, change sort of my perspective. I think I was already, what are we calling it? Lapsing. I think I was already lapsing out the door a little bit, but this is the thing that really set me off of it's, everybody's ideas are important in some way. And, it's important to look at all sides of things. And so anyway, that's my Catholic tangent. New teacher story.
Did you, that was a college. Did you get a BA there, or? I
got a BM. Bachelor of Music. So I don't know if you heard my rendition of Sound of Music before.
Very nice.
Of course.
That was the other thing that was crazy too. And again, another weird just juxtaposition of wackiness.
Mike, we lost your video.
Oh, sorry. That was me. I did that by accident.
Oh.
That's cool too.
Oh, is that? Did you just transcend? Have you?
I've moved
Jesus
into the. That was weird. Yeah, that was someone was
turned into a fractal.
Someone was listening, and that's what's known as snap camera. Everybody, if you'd like to put dog ears on your face or rainbows around your head, that's what that thing is for.
Writing that down.
Snap camera.
Or I didn't hear that because I'm teaching on Zoom right now, so I did not hear that.
Yeah, I don't want to know any of it.
I don't want to know any of that.
Jesse, be careful. We've been doing virtual camp, and boy, the kids know how to manipulate the Zoom program and how to mess with it.
Yeah, I know. I had a kid named Big Money try to get in my class today. All right, listen, Big Money, you got to change your name back to what's on my roster because I can't let you in.
Maybe he's a big donor.
Mike, at camp, how many kids are you teaching?
I had 50 in a session once. But I know it's less, it's camp, right? So we were trying to do more big games, big, improv exercises and some of them, but then we dial back on some of them if they are more specific, this is going to be, I don't know, friendship bracelet making. And it takes more of a lesson by lesson thing, then we make them smaller. So we actually go pretty big, which is insane. We learned very quickly to disable the chat feature and the rename myself feature. Very quickly, and how to mute all and not allow participants to unmute themselves.
Why do we have so many hairy balls in this class?
You can't all be named that.
The sad thing is there's a lot of cool things that kids can, there were kids that were I'm going to use these emojis to make.
Where did Steve go? What is happening tonight?
Oh my gosh.
Just keep going. He'll come back.
It's pretty fun to see what you can do on this medium that is new and creative, and then how it can also just turn into a complete and utter disaster.
But that's no different than, kids mooning you in the class. It's just
Oh, well,
You know
hold
what-
on a second. Jesse, have you ever had a kid moon you in the class?
Not on purpose. But I
Well,
had
that's the story. Save that one. We need that for sweeps.
okay.
Well, you know,
Mike, have you ever had, you've taught enough people, have you ever had someone moon you in a class?
no, but I've had a kid drop their pants in camp before, sure, and just like start running around. You know what I notice is the difference is one, everyone's individual. So you like that? You like how I just like threw that nonchalantly away? Like,
Seize the day.
That's not this. That's not the story. Let me tell you the story. It's the kid. What I notice on Zoom that's crazy is like in an environment, whether you're in a classroom setting, you're in a camp setting where there's like 100 kids screaming, you can do certain, and Jesse, you can use certain tactics or techniques to kind of quiet the group down. Or if like a group of kids is talking over on the side, like it might be fine, if they're having a discussion. On Zoom, everyone is the same. Everyone has the same power. Like everyone is the same volume. Everyone is the same size. You know what I mean? And so even if a kid is just trying to be like, hey, I just like want to talk and like talk a little bit, they come in so loud. It just like, you have to be like, hey, stop. We have to like do this one at a time. And that's the part that I hate is like, it really stifles a lot of situations. And you really have to be like, hey, everybody, I'm going to mute everybody right now because we just have to, and I apologize if you were trying to say something, but we need to do hands raised and stuff. So it's crazy that everybody comes through at the same volume and at like the same sort of level.
Yeah, I asked my kids the other day, so how have your classes been going so far? And before I muted everybody, and 30 people were yelling at me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm really sorry, put it in chat and I'll read it later. And I immediately had to mute everybody. But yeah, kids have so much to say. And it feels like I'm not doing my job because I'm not.
Jesse, we need to know, did you read it later or are you like, delete?
Well, it records it, so I'll read it at some point.
I didn't say when later is.
That's true. Later is a math equation.
If somebody complains about something, then I'll read it later. But
it's essentially pi.
I have 6 classes. I'm not reading all the chat. So
Yeah.
No.
I'm still hung up on Infant Jesus, and I'm thinking, did they have like? If it was just until 8th grade, you said, right? Kindergarten to 8th grade, they probably didn't have like carpentry, but all I can think is like, what's the interview like for the person who wants to teach like carpentry or whatever that shop, like at a place called Infant Jesus?
I don't remember if we had shop, but yeah.
How long were you there?
Or did they just draw like the last straw on naming your school?
We're all out of saints.
Everybody else got the good saints. Nobody wants to be Saint Anthony of like the lost things.
Yeah, right? Saint Elsewhere was the last one, and then it's like, all right, let's start with Baby Jesus, I guess.
Can we just be the Saint starring Val Kilmer?
Oh, nice reference.
Cool
nice
fusion.
Reference. Yeah, it's a underrated. He turned down Batman and Robin for the Saint. Everybody.
Yeah, I can't believe that it didn't get a series or what is it called?
Sequel.
Sequel. But like, I mean, that should have been just an easy like 4 movies. I mean,
it would be now.
When he was at his height, he was so awesome. He still is
awesome.
I just saw him. Oh, you know what I saw? I saw MacGruber.
Oh yeah.
Which is very different than the Saint.
Did I get the button?
You're our very own Infant Jesus.
Mike, what took you to DC? Did you guys move? Where did you move to?
So Infant Jesus was kindergarten and 1st grade. I think Infant Jesus is a saint. I think that's why they do it. No joke. They like saint him by years. And then went to school.
There's no way Infant Jesus could have done anything to help anyone. All he did was make problems. He was born without nobody had sex. He was just born. It created a shitstorm in that shed.
How are we going to explain this?
I have to look it up now. But so what? You guys moved
to Orange County, New York, like an hour north of the city, in 1990, and then I went to school at St. Thomas of Canterbury School. I really did hit the. I went to public school for high school, so there you go.
What was that called?
That was just called Cornwall High School.
School.
Cornwall Central. Cornwall, yeah.
School 8.
I remember being very sort of nervous about it because we did go 8th grade to that Catholic school went until 8th grade. But the rest of the kids in the town were like going through like the middle school for the town and then like the high school for the, or, like the 7th grade and 8th grade, whatever you call it, like for the town. And then when I came to high school, it was very sort of, they were all friends. Everybody knew who was cool. And we were just like the losers from the Catholic school that were like coming in.
You came in with like a press shirt and your books wrapped with a rope.
It was like a social thing. Yeah.
Teachers talking, guys. Teachers talking. Let's keep it down. Let's show some respect.
Listen, I just want to let you guys know, Wikipedia says the meaning of infant Jesus is the Christ child, also known as divine infant, baby Jesus, infant Jesus, child Jesus, the holy child. The Santo Niño refers to Jesus from his nativity to age 12. Every one of those is an awesome rap name.
So I was just going to say, he's basically like P. Diddy.
What is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's 5 of us. I got dibs on Santo Niño.
Santo Niño.
I'm going to drive in the other direction quickly.
Mike, were you telling a story?
I was just about to say, I was like, this was supposed to be a nice story about my first performance, and now it's just become about Catholic things.
This is just a green room bit session.
Like, you do remember feeling that pull when you got that laugh. It was like, oh wow.
Yeah, it tugs at your core.
Yeah, and this was even before. I mean, I'm sure my parents maybe have it on some kind of tape, but again, it wasn't like, how like you sometimes form memories by watching like old videos, and you're like, oh, I remember going to Disney World. You're like, nah, not really. You just remember watching the video of going. I don't think this is like on tape. Like it was something that like has been in my memory, and I'm sure the story was told to me a bunch. Like, oh, like you were so great when you said this line, but I just remember the whole process, the whole acting process, right? Of like having a script and like seeing my name and then like knowing the line was, and just like one line too. Not like, oh, I have this whole part to memorize. It's like, I have this one line. I got to nail this punchline.
It's all timing. Yeah. It's all timing. You never, when that it fits into that groove.
Oh yeah.
Get the laugh, and it's adorable that your kid has timing and everything, but like there's no different. Everybody remembers a time that they murdered,
But you know who really murdered? Mrs. Reed. She wrote the whole thing.
She wrote the whole
and
thing.
She killed someone.
Oh.
People murdered Jesus too, technically. So
Good point. Great point.
Can we say who they were?
You were paying attention.
I was. I see where we're going.